give a little bit of background, REX is a REXKL is us as an organization, but REX Cinema was built on Jalan Sultan in the vicinity of Jalan Petaling and Chinatown area. It was built in the 1970s, commissioned by a very, very rich Tauke of KL, and it was operated by the Shaw Brothers, one of the biggest film distributors in the world and cinema runners. And it ran as a cinema for a good period until the early 2000s. And if you guys go to cinemas a lot, that's REX Cinema is also where GSC was born. Before they went into the shopping malls, that was the birthplace of Golden Trees. The building got burned down twice, one from a failed attempt of a robbery, so I suppose they wanted to get everyone out and they burned the building so they could be part of the crowd and get out. And then I think it got burned down again in 2002 before it finally shut its door and it turned into a hostel. For a long time, whenever anyone went to that part of town, a lot of people still refer to it as REX Cinema, but it had been Red Dragon Hostel up till 2018 when me and a group of architects and some urban planners and lawyers. Oh, I'm done badly. But yeah, that's right. And by the way, if you like us on Facebook, you get our full history. So that's the boring part. I'm not going to tell you what's on our Facebook. I'm not going to tell you what's on our whatever else that you could read. But I wanted to talk to you about like how REX came to be what it will be when we open our doors in June. So yeah, so like I was saying, when we talk about preserving, we always talk about buildings, architecture, old things of heritage values, but we forget that one of the other things that we need to be preserving. You want to just hold your laptop?
I'll be back.
What is that? Oh no, it's not. But we often forget that one of the key things that we should be preserving are our stories. Malaysia is one of the most unique places in Southeast Asia. As much as we harp on us being the one Malaysia and we think that it's overdone, but we are the only place in Southeast Asia that's like that. And we are not insular, we are not singularly Malay, we are not singularly Chinese, we are not singularly Borneo, we are not singularly Indians or any other races that comes to make Malaysia home. And that's one of the things that I think, while we may have done a great job in preserving our food culture, we do a pretty bang-on job in preserving a lot of our architecture, but we are not very good at preserving our stories. We're not very good at preserving who we are as people, who we are as Malaysians, who we are as people from KL. And that is really what I want to talk to you today about what is preserving, what I feel is preserving. And I call it intangible treasures because you can't exactly tell someone, what am I as a Malaysian? You struggle. I think that's the biggest struggle every Malaysian gets, like, so what is it like being a Malaysian? Or what is it like coming from KL? And it's a question that's really hard to answer. You're like, oh, we're multiracial, oh, we eat a lot, we say a lot of la, and I find all of this to be our intangible treasures, things that really makes up, all these little things really makes up the sum of who we are and what we are in our stories when we collect them from all the different parts of what makes us Malaysians or what makes us part of the fabric of Kuala Lumpur. They tell our stories. And I wanted to share. Maybe I won't use my phone, so I will. Sorry? Oh, no, I mean, no. So, yeah, so we're talking about Kuala Lumpur. Kuala Lumpur is for the biggest city in KL is where everyone comes from. I'm not from KL, but I've lived and I made KL home for a while now. And everyone has a different interpretation of Kuala Lumpur. So a while ago we did this, I did this exercise. It's a story mapping exercise to sort of map out what do people feel or where do people see the boundaries of Kuala Lumpur is. Like when, have you ever had a question, have you ever had to answer someone when they ask, so where do you live? Oh, I live in KL. Oh, okay, can I have your address please? I live in number 1 Jalan SS14/7 Subang Jaya, Petaling Jaya. But you still say you live in KL. And to some people, where is KL? Oh, Pudu, Cheras. And it extends all the way. I think Rawang is KL. Is Rawang KL? Yes. Right? I really sort of learned this. And so where is the boundaries of KL? So this was one of the exercises that we were doing with a bunch of other creatives to look at where is your cultural boundaries of what exactly KL is. So the map extends really huge. To some, KL extends way beyond Bangsa. To some of us, KL is Bangsa or Mid Valley. We go to church there every Sunday. It's an amazing church. To some, KL extends way past Cheras. And I think we've also discovered that some people consider Kampung Baru as the heart of KL, at the start of KL. And then there's a lot of us who also look at historically where the KL start, which is at the confluence of the 2 rivers at Masjid Jamek. So that's where we zeroed in on, so for the purpose of that exercise, that's where we zeroed in onto picking up the downtown KL area and asking people to put down the stories and the memories of what they have, of what they remember of KL. So in that group we had like different people who are from KL, live in KL, work in KL, born in KL, not from KL. And we were mapping out different stories that we had. And then it's an amazing collection of memories from that span different eras. Like I remember back in 1996 there was a Michael Jackson concert, and that was the last time he has ever come to this side of the world. And I remember that my dad disliked Michael Jackson for the life of me. I don't know why. So my aunt, who is a huge fan, he bought her a ticket to take me, and she forgot about me, so she went in with her friends. So I was outside waiting for her, and I had to ask someone, could you please call my dad? Because my dad was waiting in the car with his driver, waiting for me to get out, because his car was blocked by other cars that were blocking, so he couldn't get out. And I don't remember how he bribed the guards and he got himself a ticket. It was a sold out concert. He bribed his guard and then he got himself a ticket, and sure, but we had to stay at the back because my auntie obviously got the VIP tickets, forgot about me, paid for by my dad, but that's okay. That's family. So we got into one of the back features part, and then the only way to actually watch the concert was me sitting on top of my dad's shoulders. And we were there and that was how I watched Michael Jackson for the first time in my life, and the only time in my life for the next 3 hours. And it was one of the most memorable experiences that I had, because I remember coming out, we were buying all these concert t-shirts. Back then, it was only 20 ringgit, not 150 ringgit like what it used to be now. And I wore that t-shirt all the way till I was in my uni days. And we weren't from KL. We were not from KL. We came all the way from Kuching to watch that concert. And that remains one of the biggest memories I had of what it means to come to KL. That place, that bright light place, and also the only place you get concerts. We have nothing in Kuching. We have a lot of Hokkien karaoke. So we also met where someone had a very vivid memory of the amazing affair of her lifetime that lasted for 8 months, and she's writing a book about it, she's writing a play about it, and it all centers around the different motels that she found that they meet up in different part of KL. And this was back in the 70s and 80s where it was very frowned upon. He was a married man, he was a very interesting man. And we also had stories of people, this is where I met my wife, and that's also where, this is, the arrow actually goes to Chinbu Stadium. They met at, I think they met at one of a badminton match. So they rented out the badminton hall for their wedding reception. And then also, I wanted to show this because he's gay. Can I use the word? Yeah, okay. So he's gay, and this was back in the 70s, and he remembered that this was where Blue Boy, if anyone remember Blue Boy, was one of the most important, it was the bar to go when you're gay. Back in the 70s, no, 80s, 70s, 80s, it was like that bar, it was like the Zouk. It was the Frenchy Penny that we know of, those of us in the 80s, 90s, and he remembered how he fell in love, where he lost his virginity, and I think these are the stories that we map out, and it tells a lot about contemporary Malaysia. It tells a lot about contemporary Kuala Lumpur, that we are more than just cultural dance. We are more than our food. We are more than our we are a lot more than what Tourism Malaysia projects us as be. Because we have real stories about who we are as people of KL. And that map, that exercise of the map was what sums up all the different stories that I've collected, and then the plan had been to turn that map into a series of a book and stories, and they all centered around downtown KL about the confluence of lives. And that's where I wanted to talk about. So from that map was also where we looked at where are the most important stories, where most of the arrow leads to, and a lot of it leads to Jalan Petaling and Jalan Sultan, which is very much the central KL back in the days. And this was even way before in the 90s where we had KLCC and Bukit Bintang was a developed area. This part of town was the heart, was the beating heart of trade, of tourism, of you come to KL, this is where you land because you either get in by bus and you stop at Pulu and you're in Chinatown. If you come by train, you stop at KTM and you're in Chinatown. If you drive, you will probably stay in hotels around Chinatown because back then, Hotel Sri Malaya was one of the most prestigious hotels around that's affordable for people to come for holiday, and you end up in the center of Chinatown. So Jalan Petaling and Jalan Sultan was really one of the most important area. I believe it, and I think a lot of people would agree, one of the most important area for us in terms of meaning culturally and geographically in KL. And if you look at historical trail and also how KL came to be, and also all the historical figures of what makes KL KL, it all centers around Chinatown. And oh yeah, okay, sure. So, and while that is all of the big fact, but I just wanted to relate it back to like why Jalan Petaling and Jalan Sultan is important. And this is where I want to tell you a little personal story. I'm not from KL. I look like I'm from KL, I sound like I'm from KL, but I'm from a small town in Sarawak called Kuching. We have a lot of cat statues. Don't know why, although Kuching doesn't really mean Kuching, Kuching meow. And it's a thing where all Kuching little girls would take a photo at the cat statue. And this is my grandfather. He's a mixed Chinese Claudette. That's him, and that's what we do. I have a very close relationship with my grandfather. My grandparents raised me. and I would follow him everywhere. And my grandfather was the head of the Hainanese Association of the Sarawak chapter. So by that, he comes to KL a lot. And when he comes to KL, he would take me and my grandma along. And we were very lucky back then, where this was I think this photo is in 1990, but all the way from the 80s, we would fly from Kuching to KL, and there's no Air Asia. So you actually had to put on the proper suit, get on an airplane, and get on the MAS and come to KL. And we were very lucky that we get to do that like 3 or 4 times a year. And every time that we come in, we land in Subang Airport, we'll take a taxi, come to Hotel Sri Malaya, and that was a hotel that we stayed in for many years, from when it had 4 stars, and then I think at one point they had 5 stars, and then they had 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star, and then we died, so we stopped coming here. And we always had the same room. My grandparents always made sure that we had the same room, and I was spending a lot of time with my grandma. And because of his work with the Hainanese Association, that's why he comes to KL a lot. And being a clan head, sort of, when you're head of an association, you're sort of like a clan head. You do a lot of, you visit a lot of the different clan houses in Chinatown, because that is the center of where most of these towns, where most of these associations are based. And also, if you look at all of the different, what do you call that? No, they're not mosques. What are the Chinese mosques? Temples. That's the word. So if you look at all the different temples in Chinatown, they all belong to different fraction of clans. There are Hokkiens, there are Cantonese, there are also for traders, because that's where Yap Ah Loy has set up as the hub of where the foreign, the migrants from Chinese would come and center themselves in Chinatown. So he would come here, and he would bring back all of, and he would connect everything from Sarawak to KL, who is the headquarters. Again, Chinatown was the repository of everything and the culmination of every chapter in the whole of Malaysia. And while he does that, and also back in late 80s and early 90s, Chinatown was full of opium dens. It was very popular, and my grandfather would spend his day smoking away like Jabba the Hutt on they all look like that. And up until today, you'll be able to find second-hand furniture in Chinatown that has opium stains, or even drawers with like dried up opiums in it. Go to Pasar Karat, you'll be able to find some of them. So me and my grandma would be left to our own device. We'll walk around, we'll eat all the wanton mee and the porridge that used to be so popular. And guess where we would end up? We would end up at REXKL, because it was the only cinema that was showing Western films, British films, English films, American cowboy films. And I think in early 90s they began to show a lot more films from America, the chain blockbusters film. And it was always an occasion to go to REXKL. There's no app to buy your tickets. You had to go to the window and you would say like, hi, for 2, and they'll look on this little plastic board, and they literally use a chalk, okay, this is where your seats are, and then they give you your ticket stubs, and then you go out, you have dinner, you have to buy your tickets like hours and hours before, or even a day before it was an early film, or if it was a popular film. And then after that you come back, and then you have to dress up nice, because going to the cinema is an event. So you come back, you bring the ticket, they walk you out, you take a seat, and just before the film starts, someone will come to you, would you like some steamed peanuts? Or you would literally have someone that's making coffee or tea, that's using the serviettes up and down the center, and that's how you get drinks back in the days, or you have Coke in the ikat tepi style, because that's how it used to be. And then most of the films that we had then had an intermission, because if not, the projector is going to burn down, and that's why the cinema burned down twice. So they will also have intermission where you can buy burgers. They literally bring burger around to your face, like, hi, would you like some? And then after the film ends, you come out, and everybody would linger, because it's, and back in the day, the entire hall fits 1,300 people for a single film. Wow. It's something that we don't think. The average cinema size that we have now is 200 pax. So watching a film back then was an experience, it was an event. And REXKL Cinema on Jalan Sultan was that place that everyone had that shared experience, as what I've just told you. Regardless of where you come from, whether you're from KL, whether you're from Seremban, or you're from Ipoh. And that's what I wanted to convey. I want to show you the train station where you can take the train, and then my mom and I also used to do that a lot when we were flying from Kuching, and then we would take the train all the way to Thailand, and then we'll come back to KL, we'll stop, stay in Sri Malaya, watch a film, go back. So that became a little playground, and then later on we did move to KL when I was a little bit older, and it was familiar. By then, Chinatown became Chinatown. Chinatown in quotation marks, because what exactly is Chinatown? When we say Chinatown, are the Chinese who live in Chinatown? Is it because it's a Chinese town? Is it because it's a Chinese street? But if we look at who are in Chinatown today, these are the communities that live and interact in that part of town that we call Chinatown. Our migrant workers, just like my grandfather used to be, just like my grandparents used to be, they all come from China, just like Yap Aloy and his whole clan came over. So you have the new breed of Chinese. I call them the new breed of Chinese. They do migrate here looking for better jobs, looking for better economy process. And these are the newer communities that's in Chinatown at this point. Building your country, we often don't see them. The development in Chinatown is fast. It changes every 2 seconds. If you don't go to Chinatown every 2 months, as my friend recently found out, that everything she had recommended on the guide to Chinatown has changed. The restaurants that she thought were there were no longer there. The dishes that used to be served were no longer there. Chinatown is something that changes every 6 months. It's a fast changing thing, just as the community that gets in and gets out. This is the Chinatown we know today. This is the grade C bags. If you want the grade AA bags, you're going to talk to them. They'll take you to one of the warehouse where you get a nicer seat. They've got like plush carpets. You sit down, and then they'll sell you. And then they sell you the bags. And they also have porter service, because women who come and buy the grade A imitation bags would literally spend 20,000 ringgit buying 20 different LV bags, and then they have someone who will bring it to your car. You get good, great Chinese tea while you're doing a shopping experience. So if you guys want some good tea, go to Chinatown, ask, can I look at your grade A stuff? That's my tip. And and Chinatown has evolved so much that it's got a roof to make it pedestrian friendly, and every night you get a lot more vendors that comes in. It's a shopping destination. It's a tourist area. And that's the Chinatown that we see today. But of course, you also still have the community that was historically part of Chinatown. They may not live there anymore, but they are very much part and parcel of Chinatown. The Chinese, the clans, the food vendors are still as they were from 20 years ago. This is the infamous Madras Lane food, Yong Zhao Fu, and Madras Lane curry. It's an experience to get into the street, and you've got to be careful about where you sit. And this is one of my favorite things about Chinatown. There's this old departmental store building called Wisma Pakping. They are also the owners of the Rex Cinema building. They are the original group of people that commissioned Rex as well. But back to this thing, so it's one of my favorite buildings. It's my little secret in Chinatown. There's a service lift. There's the only one lift in that building. They've got like 13 floors. And up to today, 2019, there's still this one guy who's employed, and because he's worked there for the longest time from when the building was commissioned, and his job is your life directory. You walk in and he says, "Good morning, where do you want to go?" And you say, "Oh, I want the Four Seasons." "Okay, level 3." And you press the button and let you go. And there's nowhere else in KL that you will find this service. And this job was made available for him and another uncle for life until they decide to leave. And that is that sort of community in Chinatown where, you know, you may come from a very old generation where it was back in the 90s, and then even though it has changed so fast here today, there's a lot of all these things that we still retain that makes up Chinatown. And so a lot of us, Chinatown is where you go for cheap flowers. I think a lot of people still do this. Every restaurant in KL buys their flowers from Winghua. If you wonder where do people get their nice looking posies or nice looking chrysanthemums, it's all from Winghua. And so that sums up about what is Chinatown and why it's important for us to preserve all these little stories, all these little nuances of what makes that space special, and why Jalan Petaling and Jalan Sultan remains a hub of KL. And that's that's how Rex came in. So Rex Cinema had been abandoned for a long time, from 2012. It got turned into a hostel, and there's about 50-60 rooms in there, and although it's called a hostel, it's mostly for foreign workers. There's a whole community that lives in the building. It's very transient. There were people that lived in that Rex Cinema for the last 10 years of their life. They've had kids, they've got family, they've got a little ecosystem going. But that place was left dilapidated. Because no one was using it, so someone came in. So someone, when they built the hostel, they saw that opportunity and they used it. And then about 2 years ago, the original owners of the building decided that, like, okay, I don't want them anymore. I would like to also generate a little bit more rental from anyone who would like to take on Rex Cinema and to turn it into something commercial. So the initial idea of it was to build a multi-level car park, to tear the entire building down and build a multi-level car park. And one of my partners, so I work with a team of 3, there's the 3 of us that's at the forefront of Rex, which is me. I am the software part, and then I have 2 architects that collaborate with me. They're both called Shin and Shin, and they're amazing young architects. And then behind us, we have we call them the Council of Uncles, but they're really our big bosses, and they're the ones that actually, I would say that they are somewhat philanthropists who had invested in us to start up this project. So when the original owners said that, okay, let's look at what can we do with this space, so it was offered to us. We were asked to look at, we were given the opportunity to look at it, to take up the lease, and from all of the sum of all of experience, what I've shared is just my experience and my stories of Chinatown. But all of us had that same story, and it's no difference with me and my 3 partners, my 2 other partners. And when we look at it, and we look at this project, and we say, okay, we've got to save this cinema because it means something. You can't turn all of these stories, you can't turn all of this experience, and you can't turn this cultural value that Rex Cinema as a building and a space hold into a multi-level car park. So we decided to take it on, and then we started building REXKL. So what exactly is REXKL? REXKL is, simply put, we're a little shopping mall with an event space. That's what we really are. But what we do try to do is to provide a space in downtown Kuala Lumpur again for people to come, for people to re-experience that experience of being part of KL, of experiencing KL through stories, through your interactions with your communities, getting to know who's next to you, getting to know the auntie who's selling you wanton mee. And a little visual guide of like also how we try. So that's how we put REXKL together. And despite us being a little shopping mall, like kind of institution, we don't exactly open up our doors and say, come, we have space for you to rent, or come, the space is available now. We actually spend a long time to look for people that will like to collaborate with, people who share the same ethics with us, not someone who's going to come in and say like, hi, I'm going to sell you a 15 ringgit latte. No offense to coffee people here. They're great. 15 ringgit lattes are great. But because I suppose at the end of the day, I am gentrifying Chinatown. We don't deny that we are part and parcel of the gentrification force that's happening in Chinatown. But where do we find the line of preserving the soul of Chinatown, but also moving forward with times? And that's what REXKL is, and that's who the partners that we look to come on board with us for as well. So we spent a long time we've gone through a lot of process, of getting to know the businesses that are coming in and what type of business, what's unique about it, what's their stake in the town. We asked what do they remember about Chinatown, how much time have they spent in Chinatown, and mostly looking at their intentions for Chinatown. So all of the businesses that are rooted at REXKL, they all have an attachment to Kuala Lumpur, to Chinatown, the same as us, the managing partners do, where it's not just about running a business, it's not just about running a space, it's about what am I offering to this part of town. So one of the few things that we do try, one of the things that we have tried and which we will be carrying forward through when we open in June, is to reuse this left space into something a lot more purposeful, and to something useful, and something where we could bring people back together again. So before we began our renovations in January, we converted this entire car park, and that's the Chinatown that I wish to see, where the current community starts to marry with what we used to be as well, and that's where I see the future of Chinatown to be. So what we did in January was to adapt the car park into a market space. We started this flower market, which used to be very popular in Chinatown because every Chinese New Year, the Cantonese celebrates, Chinese New Year is the arrival of spring. So it's a very Cantonese thing that on the first day of Chinese New Year, you go to town to buy flowers because it's the first bloom that you will get to signify a new year. But that tradition has sort of faded away because DBKL started putting barriers on the sidewalk, so you can't exactly put flowers outside anymore, and also people start coming to town. So a lot of the florists that's around Chinatown, they don't see a sense, an economical sense in doing it, but we wanted to do it, and I pushed to do it because I believe that it's one of the culture, is one of the traditions of Chinatown that we should bring back, because Chinese New Year is a big thing for the community there, and we shouldn't let things like that fade away simply because DBKL had put up some barriers. So we invited a lot of the suppliers to come. We'll give you the space. This year, you guys put your flowers in here, put your pots in here. So that's what we did. So we gave them a new space, which is something. And then we also turned it into a little bazaar. We had new businesses that comes in. We had a bar. Most of the night it turned into a comedy club. We had performances. It was surreal because after maybe 12 years of being left as a hostel, suddenly, and that place that used to be a car park, it turned into a space where people were congregating together again. So that was when we felt right about like, okay, so what we were gambling on to help to put REXKL together, the very purpose of why we want to put REXKL together, it works. It means that people do care about our stories, people do care about wanting to preserve a space that you can come together and be part of a community. We had people, music, we had friends coming to play, we got Chinese New Year raid stuff, a little jab at Jolo, bazaar. We had friends, fashion designer friends who come and supported us, put up a stall. We had great food, different type of food, vendors. People were actually buying flowers. Years and years of DBKL telling us, no one's gonna buy any more flowers. And I sent this photo to one of the officers that I've been talking to, like, hi, people do buy flowers. We had people coming to just hang out, and Chinatown, for a long time, there hasn't been a place in Chinatown where people would just come and hang out. There's no place to sit in Chinatown unless you're ready to pay for a meal. There's nowhere that you could actually pay to sit in Chinatown. The new guys, so we do have some stalls around that's opening. In future, a lot of these vendors, they will be part of our ground floor bazaar as we open up. Giving them space. And as for me, I also see REXKL as a space to push the Borneo agenda. That's one of my, that's a good friend, also Sarawakian. We've both been working in KL for the last 10 years or so, trying to push and making Bornean content a little bit more mainstream, a little bit more familiar to this side of Malaysia. It was a cinema. Some nights it turned into a cinema. And so at the end of the day, sorry, okay, I did not stop it. So at the end of the day, REXKL, the biggest intention of REXKL is for us to build this space where people can come back with the content, for the new kids to come back with great music, great films, great products, great food, so that you remember that this part of town used to be that place where we put on a show, we show who we are, and we also tell the world that we are more than what tourism are telling us. We are more than that political Chinatown arch that they label it, because we are trying to build a new meaning for Chinatown. What is Chinatown anyway? Who says that Chinatown is only for the Chinese? Or who says Chinatown is only for the old, the heritage? There's this space that we want to build for new things, new ideas, for people to come back. And I think that's where, I think that's what I'm trying to get at, that preserving part does not necessarily always mean that, like, hi, let's make old things look good again, or let's make old things functional again. But it's also about giving old things, old values, old traditions, a new meaning, a new context. And that way is how you actually make preservation successful. Because if you don't change, how you have something else to preserve for the future? But of course, I've got to do a plug. REXKL, if you guys come to me, I will be happy to show you more about our space, but all the other information, you'll be able to see them on articles, on all our social medias. But we are slated to open the first phase of Rex in June. On the 13th of June, we start to host a couple of exhibitions that will last for 3 weeks. And we'll have a Raya Bazaar. We like food, we like festive season, and the place will have air condition. We bow down to the Malaysian will. Yeah, so come and find out more about us. Come and talk to me, come and talk to Rex. If there's anyone who has interesting things that they want to reimagine as part of KL, you know, that's what we built Rex for.